It's Wednesday and we're in higher ground, Tryon, North Carolina. It's pretty warm out there today. It's in the 80s and a little humid. So when I get done with this, probably going to go take a swim. In any case, we're in Mark chapter 8, verses 14 through 21. We're still kind of dealing with God's ability to supply all of our needs and knowing spiritual things. Back when I was in my business career, we had a phrase that we used to kid about. When somebody would come and say they had 10 years experience, we wanted to know whether they had 10 years experience or 1 year's experience 10 times. What does that mean? Did we learn from each of these years of experience, or did we just repeat the same things over and over again 10 times? Sometimes I'm amazed at how many people continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. They seem to never learn from their mistakes. They seem to never care that they made mistakes. And as a matter of fact, many times they're so busy denying their mistakes that they have no time or no opportunity to learn from their mistakes. It's a tragic thing when you think about it. Well, Jesus was dealing with that kind of an issue with his disciples. It tells us in Mark chapter 8, beginning at verse 14, that the disciples forgot to take bread. They were getting ready to cross over the Sea of Galilee again. It seems that Jesus did quite a bit of crisscrossing across the Sea of Galilee, but they had forgotten to take bread. And Jesus was teaching them, or trying to teach them, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. In other words, beware of the false teaching, the errors of the Pharisees and of Herod. They were so caught up in the fact that they'd forgotten to bring bread that they were discussing amongst themselves this problem that they had of not having enough bread. And Jesus begins to rebuke them. It's almost like if we were to put it in today's terms, he would say, "You've got to be kidding. Do your hearts, are they that hard? Do you have eyes but you don't see? Do you have ears but you don't hear? Don't you remember anything? Haven't you learned?" And then he goes on and kind of explains that by saying, "When I fed the 5,000, how many baskets did we have left over?" And they responded, 12. And he said, "When I fed the 4,000, how many baskets did we have left over?" They said, 7. "Do you not understand?" he says. Don't you understand? Supply is not a problem. I am God, and I can make all of the supply that we need. Well, he calls them in Matthew, the parallel passages, Matthew 16, beginning at verse 7, he says, in verse 8, "Little faith." Don't you understand what I'm talking about? I'm not talking about leaven of bread. I'm talking about false teachings of the Pharisees and of Pharaoh, of Herod. But they're continuing to talk about bread when they've already seen Jesus supply, his ability to supply. So did they have 2 years of experience, or did they have experience 2 times? Not learning from either one of them. Maybe we all ought to take a look at that. When we start to worry about God's ability to supply our needs, when we like to see whether God can get us through and whether he can help us to resist temptation or whether he can deliver us from temptation, whatever lesson it is that we need to learn. Do we have 10 years of experience as Christians, or 1 year's experience 10 times? It's time for us, when we learn a lesson, to drive a stake down, to keep a spiritual journal, to learn from our mistakes, and not make the same ones over and over again. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.